I never imagined that spilling a little coffee on the wrong person would cost me 15 years of my life, but that was exactly what happened 3 minutes before I found myself standing in the lobby with a cardboard box pressed against my chest. My name is Josie Marlowe, and one careless collision with the CEO's son unraveled everything I had built at Harrington West Capital. The echo of his voice still rang in my ears, sharp with entitlement and certainty, cutting through the hallway when he declared that I was fired. Just like that, no discussion, no pause. Now I stood where security had gently but firmly left me, trying to breathe through the tight, burning pressure in my chest. The box in my arms held the pieces of a life I had constructed one disciplined year at a time. Framed photos of my daughter smiling through milestones, a thick bundle of handwritten thank you notes from clients whose portfolios I had protected, and the fountain pen my mother gave me the day I earned my first promotion. Everything else had been stripped away faster than the coffee had soaked into his shirt. The elevator doors opened with a soft chime, and Leonard Price stepped into the lobby as if the world were exactly as he expected it to be. He carried that familiar, calm confidence, the kind that came from knowing his money opened doors before he ever reached them. His eyes found me instantly. "Josie," he said warmly, smiling as though nothing were wrong. "Are we still on for our meeting?" I shifted the box slightly, my arms already aching. "I'm sorry, Leonard," I said quietly. "He fired me." For a moment, he only stared, blinking as though I'd spoken in a foreign language. Then he let out a low, surprised laugh, not unkind, more like someone confirming a long-held doubt. He pulled out his phone and turned the screen toward me. Colton Harrington's face glared back, flushed and furious, frozen mid-expression at some charity gala. "Is this the man who fired you?" he asked. My breath stalled. There was something in Leonard's voice then, a subtle edge of interest and relief, that told me whatever had just happened upstairs was far from finished. The air around me shifted, and for the first time it felt like the ground beneath my feet might not belong entirely to them anymore. The story you were about to hear is a fictional work created by the writing team at Revenge, Ada, crafted purely for dramatic narrative and emotional exploration. Leonard lowered the phone and studied me again, his expression sharpening into something serious, deliberate. In that moment, I understood we were already moving into territory Harrington West had never prepared for. 3 hours earlier, I had been rushing down the corridor with investor packets tucked under my arm and a fresh cup of coffee balanced in my hand. The morning had been chaotic, the kind of controlled panic that came before a meeting that could define the firm's future. I turned a corner too quickly and collided with a solid body. The coffee flew forward, splashing across an expensive designer shirt. Colton recoiled as if I had assaulted him. "Are you kidding me, Josie?" he snapped, his voice slicing through the hallway and freezing nearby analysts in place. "I'm so sorry," I said immediately. "That was my fault. I should have slowed down." I reached for napkins, but he slapped my hand away. "Don't touch me," he barked. "Do you think this is funny? Embarrassing me before a major meeting?" "The same meeting?" I asked quietly, already reaching for solutions. "Let me get a towel." "I don't want a towel," he shouted. "I want you to stop acting like you run this place." The words hit a nerve sharpened by years of his resentment. Every time an investor had come to me instead of him, every time his father had trusted my judgment over his bravado. "It was an accident," I said. "I can fix this." He stepped closer, his voice climbing. "You can't fix anything. You undermine me. You walk around like you built this firm." "That isn't fair," I said, keeping my voice steady through the sting. He threw his hands up. "Do you know who my father is?" Then he said it. "You're fired, Josie, fired." Silence flooded the corridor. Faces stared. No one intervened. HR arrived minutes later, drawn by the noise, murmuring about protocol and conference rooms. Colton pointed at me like a verdict had already been passed. "Make it official." There was no paperwork, only promises that documentation would follow. I nodded because my throat had locked itself shut. Beneath the humiliation, something fierce began to stir. In my office, I closed the door and stared at the shelves, suddenly foreign. My nameplate still sat on the credenza. Everything else had to fit into one box. I wrapped my daughter's college photo carefully, thinking of tuition due 6 weeks. Marcy from accounting slipped in quietly. "He's been trying to push you out," she whispered. "Everyone knows it. He just needed an excuse." "I spilled coffee," I said, forcing a brittle smile. She shook her head. "It could have been anything. He wants his friend in your chair." I packed slowly, each item pressing against my chest with its own weight. The pen from my mother, a small glass paperweight Leonard once gave me, notes from clients thanking me for protecting their futures. When William from security arrived, his voice was gentle. "They want me to walk you out." He gave me space, dignity. In the lobby, he paused. "Take a minute if you need." I stood there, unsure whether to disappear or stay. Then Leonard's voice cut through the noise. "Josie, there you are." He took in the box and his smile faded. "Tell me this isn't what it looks like." I told him what happened. He listened, disappointment replacing surprise. "Someone told me the meeting was canceled," he said. "I wanted to see who was lying to me." Something straightened in my spine. It wasn't me. "I know," he said. "Your work was never the problem. The problem is inside their leadership." Outside, away from the noise, he told me why he had come. The contradictions, the rushed restructurings, every trail leading back to Colton. "He didn't fire me because of coffee," I said quietly. "He fired me because I know too much." Leonard nodded. "Tell me what you've seen, off the record." Loyalty hesitated, then cracked. I spoke. Leonard listened, jaw tight, suspicion turning into confirmation. He waited, giving me room to choose how far I would go. I set the cardboard box on the floor beside me and placed both hands on the table. "There are things I never put in writing," I said quietly, "things that would have ignited battles I could not win." His eyes stayed on mine. "Start where you need to." "Colton has been pushing expansion loans that the firm cannot sustain," I said quietly. "I saw proposals for markets we have no foothold in and no research for. When I questioned him, he told me to stay in my lane." Leonard nodded once. "He also tried to alter valuation metrics on at least 2 portfolios," I continued. "I confronted him after catching inconsistencies. He claimed it was a new model, but the numbers did not follow any accepted methodology. When I refused to sign off, he stopped copying me in internal communications." Leonard's jaw tightened. "Go on." "There were emails," I said. "I was forwarded one by mistake. It laid out a plan to sideline senior staff who did not align with his forward vision. I was at the top of that list." Leonard let out a slow breath. "And he wanted you to adjust investor communications." I finished. "Tone down the risk disclosures, push optimism, skip details until after commitments were secured." His expression hardened. "That confirms more than you realize." I frowned. "What do you mean?" "Another investor pulled out last month," he said. "No explanation." Now I suspect they saw the same cracks you did. A chill moved through me. My firing was not an isolated tantrum. It was part of the structure that had been rotting long before this morning. Leonard leaned forward. "If Harrington West collapses under its own decisions, are you prepared to walk away from it entirely and build something healthier?" I did not answer aloud. I did not need to. My silence told him everything. Leonard sat back, his expression calmer now, as if a decision had already settled inside him. "Josie, I have been watching you navigate storms not of your making for years," he said. "You never cut corners. You never hid the truth to save yourself. People like you do not just manage money, you safeguard it." I folded my hands in my lap. "That is what the job required." "No," he said. "That is what integrity required, and integrity is rarer than capital." He paused long enough for me to feel the weight of the moment. Then he continued, I am withdrawing my $2 billion from Harrington West. Not tomorrow, not next quarter, today. My breath slipped out. Leonard, he raised a hand gently. I am not finished. I plan to use that same $2 billion to build something new, an investment arm built on ethics and transparency, not vanity projects and inflated numbers, and I want you to lead it with me. The words struck harder than the firing had. Lead it, Leonard? I just lost my job. My reputation may not survive this morning. Your reputation is the reason I am doing this, he replied. Long before Colton made you a target, I saw how clients trusted you, how you understood risk more deeply than the people writing the models. You are the kind of leader people follow without being told to. I stared down at my hands, feeling the conflict twist through me. 15 years of loyalty. 15 years of building something I thought I belonged to, and they had thrown me out in the span of a single sentence. You do not have to answer now, Leonard said. Take one night. Think about your mother, your daughter. Think about what you could build if no one stood in your way. I looked up, finding him watching me with quiet certainty. He had already made his choice. The next choice was mine. By the time I woke the next morning, Leonard had already acted. My phone buzzed with 3 messages from former colleagues, each one more frantic than the last. Before I could respond, Leonard called. It is done, he said. The full $2 billion has been withdrawn. The board received official notice at 7. I sat on the edge of my bed. How did they respond? With panic, he replied, as expected, within an hour. The story spread through Denver's financial circles. Rumors swirled of emergency calls, board members scrambling for explanations, and analysts trying to understand why the firm's most reliable investor had walked away so abruptly. Colton tried to strike first. He sent a mass internal email claiming I had mishandled investor relations, jeopardizing the deal. He framed himself as the one trying to prevent further damage. Leonard forwarded the email to me with a short note. Watch this. He then sent the same email to the board along with a private memo he had kept for weeks. It contained timestamps of Colton meetings, altering communication chains, and pressuring Leonard to route all inquiries through him alone. Every attempt at manipulation was documented. By noon, the board called an emergency session. Leonard's memo circulated quietly among senior partners. No one defended Colton. No one could. At 2 o'clock, another message lit up my screen. It was from William, the security guard. He is gone, Josie. They made it public, effective immediately. Colton had been escorted out of the same lobby where I had stood only a day earlier, clutching a box and trying not to let my hands shake. This time, no one looked away. The truth had finally spoken louder than the person who tried to bury it. By the end of the week, Harrington West was unrecognizable. A restructuring announcement went out before sunrise, followed by a terse memo confirming that the CEO would be transitioning out of his role. No one believed it was voluntary. Shareholders had demanded accountability, and the board had chosen survival over loyalty. Colton's name began circulating through Denver's financial district, with a tone that was half disbelief, half dark humor. I overheard someone on the light rail mutter, "That's the coffee calamity air," as if the story had already become urban folklore. Former coworkers reached out, some cautiously, some tearfully. Marcy called first. "I just wanted to say thank you," she whispered, "for telling him the truth, for standing your ground. We all saw what he was doing, but none of us could say anything." Another analyst messaged me, "You did not burn anything down, you exposed a fuse." Someone else wrote words that steadied something inside me. Leonard met me in his temporary workspace 2 days later. He slid a folder across the table. "This is the formal offer. Executive Director, full authority to build the team you want." My hands trembled as I signed. A career I had thought was ending was beginning again, and this time on ground that was finally solid. I visited my mother with a bouquet of soft pink roses. She looked up from her chair, confused for a moment, then smiled when she recognized my voice. "You sound lighter," she said. "I think I am," I replied, sitting beside her. That night, my daughter called. The moment I told her I'd accepted a new role, she started crying, a mix of relief and pride that warmed my chest. When I hung up, I realized stepping into leadership meant creating something stronger than the place that had shattered around me. On my first morning at the new firm, I found myself thinking back to that lobby, the marble floor, the box against my ribs, the disbelief sitting heavy in my throat. At the time, it felt like everything I had built was slipping through my fingers. Now, standing in a quiet conference room with Leonard reviewing our first set of projects, I understood that the only thing I had carried out of Harrington West was the thing they tried hardest to ignore: my integrity. Leonard set a folder in front of me. "This is yours to lead," he said. "Start wherever you think the foundation needs to be." I nodded, settling into the chair that still felt new beneath me. "I want the team to understand why honesty matters here. I will not allow anyone to use fear to shut people down." "That's exactly why I chose you," Leonard said. His tone held no grand announcement, just steady trust. Later that morning, the first candidate walked into my office, an analyst named Priya who had crossed paths with me years ago. "I heard you're building something different," she said. "I want to be part of that." "Then you're welcome here," I replied. "No one succeeds alone." She smiled, and I saw the first thread of the culture I hoped to weave: people who showed up because they believed in the work, not the politics. By midday, I took a breath and let the weight of the past week settle. The downfall of Harrington West had never been my mission, but truth has a way of rearranging the world without needing permission. I did not break the firm. The firm broke under the choices it made long before I ever spilled that cup of coffee. The lesson I carried with me, deeper than any title, deeper than any deal, was simple. When someone tries to reduce your worth, the most powerful response is to build a life where their opinion no longer decides your future.